You ever sit in a room full of people and still feel like you're standing alone in a storm of noise? You smile, you nod, but deep down, you're learning, you're watching, you're protecting something the world will never see, your inner peace. See, life has taught the wise something that pain often reveals. Not everything needs to be shared. Not every dream needs to applause. Not every scar needs to be explained. There's a sacred power in what you choose not to say. We live in a time where everyone wants to post their every move, every meal, every thought, every heartbreak. But smart people, they move different. They don't need validation. They don't crave the spotlight. They understand that privacy is protection, not just from others, but from distraction, judgment, and the thieves of peace. Let me tell you something. Not everyone who claps for you is rooting for you, and not everyone who asks how you're doing wants you to win. That's why the strongest people, the ones who grow, who rise, who thrive, they learn to guard their life like a treasure, because it is. Today, I'm going to share with you 6 secrets that smart people never share. Not because they're cold, but because they've learned the power of silence. Number 1, their next move. Let me tell you something straight from the heart. The next move you make could change your life. It could shift your entire story. But here's the truth most people overlook. The moment you speak that move out loud, the moment you expose your vision too early, you give it a chance to be judged, misinterpreted, doubted, or even attacked. There's a reason why wise people walk quietly in the early stages of their mission. Because a silent strategy is a powerful one. See, when you keep your next move to yourself, you don't invite criticism, confusion, or chaos. You just move, you build, you plant, you grind, and one day you rise, and they don't even know where you came from. That's the beauty of moving in silence. Most people aren't quiet because they're afraid. They're quiet because they're focused, because they've learned the hard way what happens when you speak too soon. People will take your plans and try to mold them into their own fears. They'll tell you what they would do, what they think you're capable of, and most of it has nothing to do with your calling. That's why smart people protect their path. Not because it's a secret, but because it's sacred. There's a difference. The world is full of distractions. Everybody's watching everybody. Social media has made it a habit to announce everything. I'm starting this, I'm planning that, I'm going here. But the wise, they step back. They understand that not everything is meant for public consumption. Some things are meant to grow in silence, where the soil is rich and undisturbed by noise. Imagine a farmer announcing every time he plants a seed. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Because we know seeds don't grow from announcements. They grow from being buried, nurtured, and left alone until it's time to rise. Your next move should be treated with the same care. Let it take root before you showcase the fruit. You got to stop explaining your vision to people who don't have the capacity to see it. If God gave you the dream, he didn't need a committee to approve it. So why are you presenting your next step like a business pitch to people who haven't walked your pain? Smart people know that premature exposure leads to premature failure, so they stay still. They stay silent. And they trust the process. See, when you stop talking and start moving, people don't get the chance to shape your direction. They just wake up one day and you've already arrived. You've already built. You've already conquered. That's power. Let me give it to you real. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you release energy. Energy that should be going into action. The more you talk, the more you feel like you've already done something, when in reality, nothing's moved. That's the trap. Talking gives the illusion of progress. But smart people, they flip the script. They don't talk to feel accomplished, they work. They execute. They let their results do the talking. You know what's more powerful than saying, I'm going to start a business? Actually building it and watching people's mouths drop when it's already running. Let the work speak. Let your grind shout louder than your mouth ever could. You ever wonder why some of the most successful people you know seem quiet? It's because they're busy building. They're not worried about broadcasting every win, every step, every decision. They're too focused on the next door they're about to open. And that door, it doesn't need a crowd. It needs courage. It needs discipline. It needs consistency. Smart people understand that the most important phases of their journey require less noise and more effort. Silence isn't an absence of motion. It's an abundance of direction. It's when you stop explaining and start expanding. The wise don't pause to be understood. They keep moving until they're undeniable. Now let's be real. Some people don't want you to win. They don't want to see you grow. And the more you speak about your next move, the more you give them opportunities to interfere, to discourage, to sabotage. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to succeed. Some are watching just to make sure you don't get further than they did. Smart people have learned this, not from a book, not from a quote, but from heartbreak, from betrayal, from disappointment. So now they walk quietly. They let go of the need to be celebrated in the beginning, knowing that real victory doesn't need a crowd. It needs completion. And when they finish, that silence turns into a roar of success that no one can deny. Let your enemies be confused. Let your critics stay curious. You owe nobody a roadmap of your destiny. If they couldn't understand your past, why give them access to your future? You've got to treat your next step like a mission, a divine operation, and like any great mission, it needs secrecy, precision, and a clear goal. When a soldier is sent into battle, he doesn't announce his strategy to the enemy. He moves. He acts. He follows the plan. The same goes for you. Don't give your opponent your playbook. Don't let people who haven't earned a seat at your table steal food from your plate. Be wise. Be quiet. Be relentless. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being intentional. You're not hiding, you're preserving. There's strength in being silent because silence is space. Space to think, space to plan, space to breathe without judgment, without interruption. When you move in silence, you learn to hear your own voice clearer. You become more in tune with your instinct, your creator, your calling. The outside world will try to distract you with noise, with opinions, with expectations. But smart people don't fall for that. They shut out the noise so they can listen to what truly matters, their purpose. You don't owe anyone a trailer before the movie is done. Let them watch the whole film when you're finished. Too many people sabotage their own progress by revealing it too soon. Then when things don't work out, they've got to explain why. But when you move privately, you get to fail in peace, learn in peace, rebuild in peace, and succeed in power. Smart people understand this balance. They are not driven by ego. They're driven by evolution. And evolution happens in the dark. The caterpillar doesn't announce its transformation. It goes into the cocoon. And when it comes out, it's a butterfly. No words, just wings. You see, there's something sacred about discipline done in silence. It builds character. It builds resilience. Teaches you to depend on your own voice, not the applause of others. It separates the performers from the producers. Talking is easy. Action is what leaves a mark. So if you've got a dream, a plan, a calling, hold it close. Water it, feed it, build it, but don't expose it too soon. Smart people know that when the timing is right, the world will see the fruit. And by then, the roots will be so deep, no storm can shake it. That's how you protect your next move. So remember this, and remember it well. Not everyone deserves front row access to your process. Not everyone has earned the right to know what you're building, what you're healing, what you're becoming. You are not being rude by staying silent. You are being wise. You are being strategic. You are being free. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of power. So if you're in a season of building, stay low, stay focused, stay disciplined. Don't seek attention, seek results. Because when the time is right, your next move will speak so loudly, the world won't need you to say a single word. Number two, their financial situation. There are some things in life that deserve privacy, not because you're hiding something, but because you're protecting your peace. And let me tell you, one of those things is your financial situation. See, money reveals people, not just who you are, but who they are around you. The moment people think you've got something or don't have anything, they change. They treat you different. They start making assumptions, judgments, expectations. That's why smart people don't broadcast their bank accounts, their debts, or their breakthroughs. They know that the moment you start sharing your financial life, you invite energy into your space that you didn't ask for. And not all of it is good. When you tell someone how much you make, they don't just listen. They compare, they calculate, they question, they either envy you or pity you. And neither of those responses serve your soul. That's why the wise stay silent. You could be sitting next to a millionaire and never know it, because their peace is more valuable than your perception. Financial privacy is not secrecy, it's security. It's strength. It's knowing that your worth is not measured by someone else's applause. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to keep building. Quiet. Let's be real. Most people don't want to know your financial situation to celebrate you. They want to measure themselves against you. They want to figure out if they're ahead or behind. That's not love. That's competition. And life ain't a race, it's a journey. Smart people know this, so they don't give people ammunition to weaponize their own dreams. Whether they're in a season of abundance or a season of survival, they stay grounded. They keep their focus because they understand something powerful. When you stop sharing your money situation, you start controlling your energy. You stop letting people's reactions manipulate your momentum. There's nothing more dangerous than sharing your struggle with someone who secretly wants you to fail. You tell them you're broke, and they smile on the inside. You tell them you're making six figures, and they start rooting against you. That's real. That's why the wise don't speak about the money they have or the money they don't. They just move like they've got nothing to prove, because they don't. And when they do have success, they don't flaunt it. They know that true wealth doesn't need validation. You don't need to wear your worth on your wrist when it's already stamped on your spirit. Money makes people uncomfortable, especially when it's not theirs. And in a world obsessed with image, showing off your finances is like pouring blood into a shark tank. People will circle you, try to use you, manipulate you, or suddenly need you. That's why smart people live below their means. They don't chase the loud life, they chase the free one. They'd rather drive a quiet car with peace than a flashy one with pressure, because they've learned that the best kind of wealth isn't the one you post online, it's the one that lets you sleep at night. You see, there's power in financial discretion. When nobody knows how much you've got, they can't control how they treat you. They can't put expectations on you. They can't start borrowing your blessings like they earned them. You get to be treated for who you are, not what you have. And that right there is rare. That's why the wise keep their lifestyle modest, because they'd rather be underestimated and free than overexposed and drained. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've got enough, but don't need to prove it. And that confidence, that's wealth too. Some of y'all need to stop announcing a storm before you found shelter. If you're struggling financially, it's okay, but not everyone needs to know. Not everyone can handle your struggle with compassion. Some people will celebrate your downfall behind closed doors. Some will spread your business like gossip. That's why the wise cry in private and rise in silence. They understand that their current financial situation is not their final one. They don't need pity. They don't need validation. They need strategy. They need discipline. They need silence, because silence gives them space to rebuild. And what about when you're thriving? When you're finally out the hole? When the checks are coming in and the struggle feels like a memory? Even then, the wise keep it low. You know why? Because loud money attracts fake friends, attracts opportunists, attracts problems. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being prepared. Smart people know that when you let people think you're average, you get to live above the noise. No pressure to impress, no pressure to compete. You just move, you invest. You build legacies in silence while others chase applause for moments that won't last. We live in a time where everybody's flexing online, in real life, through brands, through lives. But let me tell you something. Real wealth doesn't scream, it whispers. It lives in peace. It lives in options. The ability to say no when everyone else has to say yes. That's wealth. The ability to walk away from toxic situations because you've built financial stability. That's wealth. And smart people don't share how much they've got, because the real ones know money isn't the goal. Freedom is. Legacy is. And you don't need to flash a legacy. You live it. Don't let the world convince you that your value comes from what you can show. Your value comes from what you've overcome, what you've endured, what you've built in silence, what you've sacrificed, what you've protected. And sometimes protecting your finances means protecting your dreams, your peace, your space. If someone asks, how much do you make? You don't owe them a number. You owe yourself the wisdom to walk away from conversations that serve no purpose but pride and comparison. You are not obligated to entertain curiosity that compromises your clarity. Smart people don't talk about their money because they know money is a tool, not a trophy. It builds empires, it funds visions, it helps people in ways the world may never see. And that's okay. The goal was never to be seen. The goal was to be free. And in freedom, there is peace. There is power. There is privacy. So whether you're stacking every dollar or giving every dollar a mission, do it quietly, do it wisely. Let your lifestyle be humble, but your impact be loud. And when it's all said and done, let them be shocked by what you built while they were busy talking. So remember this truth and carry it close. Your financial situation is not a public story. It's a personal strategy. You owe nobody your balance sheet. You owe nobody an explanation for how you're surviving or thriving. Walk in your lane. Mind your paper. Build in silence and let your peace be the loudest thing in your life. Because when they can't see your wallet, they can't manipulate your worth. Keep that to yourself. Let your future speak volumes when your silence has already done the work. Number 3, their love life. And let me tell you something, and I want you to listen carefully. Your love life is not a public story. It's not a group discussion. It's not for your friends, your coworkers, your followers, or even your family to pick apart and put back together in their own version of your truth. See, when it comes to matters of the heart, smart people stay quiet. They don't put their love life on display, not because they're hiding something, but because they're protecting something. And what you protect grows. There's a sacredness to love that doesn't belong in the spotlight. Every time you tell people about your relationship, your situationship, or your heartbreak, you invite opinions, interference, and energies that were never meant to be in the room. Now you've got 10 voices in your head and only one heart in your chest. That's a dangerous place to be. Smart people know that love, real love, deserves privacy, not publicity. Because the more people know, the more they feel entitled to your happiness or your pain. Everybody wants to talk about relationships these days. Who's dating who left who cheated, who stayed. But let me tell you something. That's their business, and your business is yours. Your relationship is not a soap opera for public entertainment. It's not content for likes or retweets or validation. It's your real life. It's your emotions. It's your soul tied up with someone else's. And when you start sharing too much, you start risking too much, because people don't always want what's best for you. They want what's interesting for them. See, when people know too much about your love life, they start making assumptions. They start projecting their own fears, failures, and fantasies onto your relationship. Now they're telling you what to do, how to love, when to leave, who you deserve. But they don't know the late night talks. They don't know the prayers you prayed. They don't know what you've built or what you've battled. All they know is what you showed them. And what you showed them became a license to judge what they don't understand. Smart people don't talk about who they love, how they love, or what they're going through, because they know the heart is fragile. It needs protection. You don't water your garden by letting the whole neighborhood trample through it. You water it in peace, in privacy, in intentional silence. The wise understand that you don't need to explain your love to anybody. If it's real, it will explain itself in time. And if it's not, it will reveal itself. Either way, you don't need an audience. You just need alignment. And what about when you're in love? Happy? Peaceful? Even then, be careful, because peace makes people curious. Some people don't want to see you happy. They want to study your happiness so they can copy it, sabotage it, or corrupt it. That's why the best relationships move in silence. No online declarations, no status updates, no validation-seeking posts. Just two people doing the work, holding each other accountable, and growing quietly. The real ones know if it's real, it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be loyal. On the other side, when you're broken, when love failed you, when they left without a goodbye or stayed without effort, even then, stay silent. Not for their sake, but for yours. Because when you bleed publicly, you invite people to poke your wounds instead of help you heal. You don't need the world knowing why it ended. You don't need sympathy. You don't need people choosing sides in a story they don't even understand. You need time. You need space. You need solitude. And most of all, you need strength. There's a kind of dignity that comes from keeping your heartbreak sacred, from crying behind closed doors and rising without bitterness, from not bashing your ex just to feel better, from letting go without giving the world a play-by-play. Smart people know that maturity is silent, growth is private, and closure, that's personal. You don't need to prove to anyone that you've moved on. Just move on and let your peace speak louder than your pain ever did. People talk too much about love and don't understand what love really is. It's not about how much you post. It's not about matching outfits and vacation pictures. It's about how you fight for each other in the dark when no one's watching. It's about how you communicate, how you forgive, how you show up. And the more people you involve in your love life, the less room you have to grow inside it. Too many voices drown out your intuition. Too many eyes create pressure that love was never meant to carry. And let's be honest, some people are only around your relationship because they're waiting for it to fail. They're watching for the cracks, for the silence, for the moment they can say, I knew it wouldn't last. That's why privacy isn't selfish, it's wise. You don't owe anybody updates on your love life. You owe yourself the grace to love, lose, or evolve without performing for an audience. You owe your relationship the space to breathe, not the burden to prove. So whether you're in love, falling out of love, or healing from love, do it quietly, not in shame, but in strength. Because not everyone deserves access to your heart. Not everyone has earned the right to know who holds it. And some people are better left wondering how you moved on, wondering who you're with, wondering if you're still healing or already whole. That mystery, that silence, that's your power. So guard your love life like it's sacred, because it is. The more you keep to yourself, the more peace you'll keep around you. And peace, that's worth more than anyone's opinion. Let your heart heal privately. Let your love bloom quietly. Let your relationships live where they were always meant to. in real life, not on display. That's how the strong move. That's how the wise love. That's how the healed rise. Number 4, their past mistakes. Let me tell you something real quick. Everybody's got a past. Everybody's got regrets. You, me, the person next to you. We've all made mistakes we wish we could erase, decisions we wish we could rewind. But the truth is, life doesn't come with a delete button. It comes with a mirror, a lesson, and a choice. And the smartest people, they don't advertise their past failures. They build from them, quietly, privately, and powerfully. You don't need to broadcast every misstep you've made. The world doesn't need a front row seat to your lowest chapters. Smart people know you don't grow by explaining your shame. You grow by learning from it, forgiving yourself, and moving forward in silence. The past, that's between you, God, and the lessons that shaped you. Because when you keep bringing up what you used to be, you give it power over who you're trying to become. And baby, you're not that person anymore. There's something sacred about suffering in silence and rising in strength. Some of the most powerful people you've ever met have scars you'll never see. Because they didn't wear them like wounds, they wore them like armor. They didn't need the world to validate their growth because they lived it. Every silent prayer, every sleepless night, every time they chose healing instead of hatred, wisdom over revenge. That's what changed them. Not the apology they never got, not the applause they never heard, but the internal shift no one witnessed. See, when you share too much about your past, you risk being imprisoned by people's perceptions. You give them the chance to reduce you to a mistake instead of a miracle. And people, let me be honest, people are slow to forget. They'll tattoo your past on your name and act like grace was never an option. That's why smart people protect their evolution. They let the transformation speak for itself. They don't waste breath trying to convince others they've changed. They just live like it. And sometimes, people only want to know your past so they can use it against you. Not to help you grow, not to support your journey, but to remind you of where you fell, not how you got up. Be careful who you open up to. Not everyone who listens wants to lift you. Some folks just want access to your weakness so they can mock your strength when it threatens their comfort. Keep that in mind. Silence is safety. And privacy is power. Now, I'm not saying to never be vulnerable. Vulnerability has its place with the right people, in the right spaces, under the right spirit. But your past doesn't belong to just anybody. Your darkest moments were never meant to be dinner table gossip or social media confessions. They're holy. They're sacred. They are the ashes from which you rose. And the wise, oh, the wise, they don't let the world dig through those ashes looking for dirt. They let the fire purify them, and then they rise without explanation. Forgiveness doesn't require a crowd. Growth doesn't need to be loud. And redemption, that doesn't always come with recognition. Sometimes your biggest victory is simply walking past what tried to destroy you with your head held high and your mouth shut. Because you don't need to convince anyone of who you are now. If God knows, that's enough. If you know, that's enough. And if you're still carrying shame for what you did back then, let it go. You've already served your sentence in silence. Let them wonder what broke you. Let them guess how you healed. Let them assume you're still struggling, still weak, still stuck. And when they finally see you standing, when they see the strength in your eyes and the peace in your voice, don't explain. Don't revisit the pain for their curiosity. Just smile. Just nod. Just keep walking. Because those who remember you by your past aren't qualified to witness your future. And those who truly see you, they'll never need the details to believe in your deliverance. You've got to understand, your past was a classroom, not a courtroom. You weren't sentenced to stay there. You were meant to learn, to grow, to evolve, to rise. So why dwell on the mess when the message is what matters? Why keep reopening wounds that are already healing? Smart people walk like they've been through hell, but refuse to let the fire define them. They don't need to bleed in front of everyone to prove they survived. They know they survived. And let me say this clearly. You are not your mistake. You are not your worst day. You are not your most broken moment. You are not the version of you that made that decision, trusted that person, believed that lie, or took that path. You're not the addiction, the failure, the betrayal, or the regret. You are what came after. You are the healing, the lesson, the comeback. And if people can't separate who you are now from who you were then, that's their limitation, not yours. So move forward with quiet power. Let the healed version of you walk into rooms the broken version never could. Let your light confuse those who only knew your darkness. Let your silence teach louder than your confession ever could. Because you don't owe your history to anyone who isn't part of your destiny. Smart people understand that peace comes when you stop explaining your evolution to people committed to your former self. You're not here to stay stuck in the past. You're here to rewrite the future. So hold your head up, not because you've been perfect, but because you refuse to stay broken. Walk proudly, not because you're flawless, but because you've forgiven yourself. Love yourself, not because you've never failed, but because you finally healed. And remember, the ones who move in silence, the ones who've been through the storm and kept it to themselves, those are the ones who are truly unstoppable. Number 5, their family issues. Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Every family is broken in some way. Don't be fooled by the smiling pictures, the holiday greetings, or the polished social media posts. Behind closed doors, there are wounds, silence, betrayal, resentment, secrets, and pain. And smart people, they don't announce that to the world. They carry it with quiet dignity. Because when it comes to family, privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. The truth is, your family business isn't public property. It doesn't belong in group chats, in gossip circles, or out there for people to pick apart. People love drama that doesn't belong to them. They feed off dysfunction, especially when it makes them feel better about their own. That's why smart people keep their mouths shut when it comes to family struggles. Not because they're in denial, but because some battles are sacred. Some wounds aren't for public viewing. They're for healing in silence. You see, when you expose your family issues to the wrong audience, you give people the power to judge what they'll never understand. They start forming opinions about people they've never met. They take sides in wars they didn't witness. And suddenly, what should have been a private process of healing becomes a public spectacle of shame. That's not healing. That's chaos. Smart people protect their peace by keeping their pain behind the curtain. And let's be honest. Sometimes the deepest betrayal comes from the people you love the most. A parent who wasn't there, a sibling who turned their back, a relative who crossed a line that should have never been crossed. That stuff cuts deep and shakes the foundation of who you are. But smart people don't throw that pain into the street. They don't let the world dissect their heartbreak. They deal with it in private with God. With wisdom, with time. Because healing requires quiet, not chaos. There's a reason your family story is personal. It's layered, complicated, and often filled with unspoken truths. And when you share it too freely, you risk being misunderstood. Worse, you risk allowing people to weaponize your vulnerability. You'll find them repeating your pain like it's entertainment, spinning your reality like it's gossip. Suddenly, your heartbreak becomes their storyline. That's why silence is powerful, because not everybody deserves access to the most wounded parts of you. Some things aren't meant to be explained, they're meant to be carried. Family issues are like that. You carry them while building yourself into someone better, not perfect, just better. You forgive when they're not sorry. You heal when the apology never comes. You rise without recognition, and you protect your peace at all costs. Smart people don't hide the truth. They guard it. Because when the time is right, healing shows itself without a word being spoken. You ever notice the loudest people have the least peace? They air their family's dirty laundry for attention, sympathy, or validation. But what they don't realize is they're pouring salt in their own wounds. They keep reopening pain that needs privacy to mend. Smart people don't perform their pain for others. They don't seek comfort from strangers who will never carry the cost of their story. They process it privately. They find strength in silence. They rise without the audience. Sometimes you have to love your family from a distance. Sometimes you have to forgive people who will never admit they hurt you. And sometimes you have to be the one who breaks generational patterns by choosing not to repeat them. But you don't need the world's applause for that. You don't need to post about it. You just need to live it quietly, consistently, courageously. Smart people don't explain how they escape dysfunction. They embody the peace they fought for. And it's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about choosing maturity over mess, healing over hostility, power over pettiness. When people ask about your family, you don't have to give details. You don't have to justify your boundaries. You don't need to explain who's missing from your life or why. You simply smile and say, we're working through things. Because that's what wise people do. They answer with grace, not gossip. They protect their story while it's still unfolding. Family doesn't always mean safe. Blood doesn't always mean bond. And sometimes love is real, but the relationship is broken. That's the quiet heartbreak smart people carry. But they don't carry it like shame. They carry it like strength. Because they know healing happens behind the scenes. And when you finally step into the light, whole and grounded, you won't owe anyone an explanation. Your peace will speak louder than your past ever could. You've got to understand, you don't have to stay loyal to pain just because it came from your family. You're allowed to grow beyond what raised you. You're allowed to create new standards, build better foundations, and choose silence over chaos. That's not disloyalty. That's survival. That's wisdom. And smart people, oh, they know. The less you say, the more peace you protect. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your transformation. So protect your story, guard your healing, and carry your family pain with grace, not guilt. The world doesn't need the details of your dysfunction to respect your strength. Walk with quiet dignity. Let your peace do the talking. And know this, your past may be complicated, but your future is yours to build. And you're building it brick by brick, with love, with boundaries, and in silence. Number 6, their deepest dreams. You want to know something that wise people rarely talk about? Their deepest dreams. Not because they don't have any, but because they do. And those dreams are sacred. They live in the most private part of the soul. They're not casual ideas or random hopes. They're the blueprint of someone's purpose. And smart people, they guard that blueprint like a treasure map. Because dreams, when they're fresh and fragile, are vulnerable to other people's fears, doubts, and small thinking. People love to crush what they don't understand. Share your big dream with someone who's never dared to chase one, and they'll hand you 100 reasons why it won't work. Not because you can't do it, but because they couldn't. That's why the wise speak less and grind more. They don't need to prove the dream. They're too busy building it. They understand something powerful. Dreams are fragile in the beginning, and if you expose them too early, they die under the weight of someone else's limitations. You don't need an audience to validate a dream that was whispered to your soul in silence. What God plants in your heart was never meant to be confirmed by man. It's meant to be nurtured in quiet obedience. That means working when nobody's watching, sacrificing when no one understands, believing in something even when it hasn't shown up yet. That's how dreamers move, silently, intentionally, consistently, because they know every step matters. even the invisible ones. You've got to be careful with people. Share your dream too soon and they'll ask questions your courage can't answer yet. They'll poke holes in your vision while it's still forming. They'll smirk, doubt, belittle, and plant seeds of fear in ground meant for faith. That's why dreamers build in silence. That's why they go ghost sometimes. It's not arrogance, it's protection. Because the dream is everything. And until it's strong enough to walk on its own, you don't hand it over to people who only know how to walk in circles. Smart people don't tell everyone they're writing a book. They just hand you the first signed copy. They don't broadcast their business idea. They launch it, refine it, unshakable. They don't post their progress. They become the progress. Because when you're truly invested in something sacred, you don't need attention. You need focus. You need time. You need God. And you don't waste divine vision trying to convince blind minds. Some people can't even dream for themselves. So what makes you think they'll support yours? That's not their fault. They're just not wired to see beyond survival. But if you're called to build, to create, to lead, then your path is different. It's quieter. It's lonelier. But it's holy. And you better believe the more sacred the dream, the more silent the process. Because God often moves in the unseen, and your destiny isn't a performance, it's a promise. You've got to be okay with being misunderstood, with people thinking you're not doing enough when you're actually doing everything. They don't see the 3 a.m. prayers, the ideas scribbled in notebooks, the sacrifices made behind the scenes. But that's all right, because dreamers don't move for applause, they move for legacy. They're not chasing fame, they're chasing fulfillment. And they'd rather walk alone in purpose than sit with a crowd in confusion. And here's the thing, when you finally do reveal your dream, when it's matured, solid, unshakable, it will speak for itself. You won't need to explain the years of silence, the pain, the rejections, the private battles. Your becoming will do the talking. And the same people who question you will ask how you did it. And if you're wise, you'll smile and say, I kept it private. I kept it safe. Because what's sacred doesn't need exposure. It needs execution. There's a season for speaking, but there's also a season for hiding. Just like a seed buried in soil, your dream needs darkness to take root. It needs pressure. It needs time. The world might not see it growing, but that doesn't mean it isn't. That's the beauty of privacy. Nobody sees your process, but when the fruit comes, everybody knows. So if you're in that silent season right now, trust it. Honor it. That's not punishment. It's preparation. You don't need to announce every goal. You don't need to tweet every milestone. You don't have to update the world on your progress. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is silence. While they're watching the noise, you're building something real, something eternal, something that doesn't just change your life, but shifts generations after you. And when that happens, they'll realize your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. So keep dreaming, quietly, boldly, privately. Let your heart burn for the thing that won't let you sleep. Let your actions echo louder than your words ever could. Protect the vision, guard the dream, and when it's ready, let it roar, not for the crowd, but for the calling. And always remember, smart people don't expose dreams in their infancy. They protect them until they're powerful enough to stand in the light. And by then, nothing can stop them. Your dream is your responsibility. No one will understand it the way you do. No one will carry it with the same urgency. So don't waste time begging for support from people who were never supposed to be part of the journey. God gave it to you, not them. So run with it, fight for it, and when you reach that mountaintop, you'll know you didn't need validation, you just needed vision. And you kept it safe, because smart people always do. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the truths that have been shared. Life is full of challenges, of opportunities, and of dreams that whisper in the quiet corners of our hearts. but it's how we handle those whispers, how we protect our most sacred parts, that determines our strength and success. Smart people understand that some things are not meant to be shared with the world. They protect their peace, their dreams, and their personal struggles from unnecessary exposure. They know that their next move, their love life, their past mistakes, their family issues, and their deepest dreams are too precious to be laid bare for the scrutiny of others. These are the things that shape who they are, but they're not for everyone to see. Privacy isn't about hiding. It's about safeguarding what's most important to you, allowing yourself the space to grow, heal, and rise without distraction or judgment. When you choose to guard these areas of your life, you're not just protecting yourself from negativity. You're creating a space where you can build without interruption, where your faith in yourself can flourish, and where your vision can take root in quiet confidence. You see, the world doesn't need to know everything about you. Your strength lies in your ability to rise above, to walk with purpose, to believe in what others might not yet see. By keeping certain things private, you're not only setting boundaries, you're claiming your right to evolve without external pressure. There is a power in silence, a power in keeping certain dreams, certain struggles, certain moments to yourself. This power doesn't come from hiding. It comes from the strength to protect your peace and your potential. It's about choosing who and what gets access to your energy and your time. The more you protect, the stronger you become. The more you focus on building, the clearer your path will become. Privacy is not your weakness, it's your strength. It's the soil where your future will grow, nurtured in the quiet, away from the noise of the world. Remember this. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your journey. You don't need the world's approval to chase your dreams or make your way through life. What matters is that you believe in yourself, that you keep moving forward with conviction and courage. Smart people understand that the less they reveal, the more they achieve. So protect your peace, guard your dreams, build your life in silence, and let your success speak for itself. In the end, your journey is yours alone, and the strength you gather along the way will carry you to heights you've only imagined. Stay focused, stay grounded, and remember that not everything needs to be shared. Keep your deepest dreams, your greatest aspirations, and your quiet victories close to your heart, for they are the foundation of your future. Thank you for taking the time to listen. May you walk in peace and confidence as you chase your dreams with all the courage and strength you have within. God bless you.